Yeah, how many of you are completing that yesterday's exercises? Please confirm this in the chat window. Me, if you would have completed. So type the me in the chat window. Good. Anil, Sai, Harshini, Ratna, Jagadish. Okay, you went home for election. Fine, good. But try to complete today. Yeah, so by this weekend, so whatever the activities which we have been discussing this from last Monday, so try to complete this weekend. Anyway, so let me continue. And I have uploaded those notebook files in the resources section. Did you find those? Are you able to download those? Okay, let me go quickly on these concepts. So I'll ask, I'll ask some points. So get ready with the chart window and type that output what we'll be having this whenever we run the program. So this is just like now you are going to work like as a Python interpreter. So I'll show the code, the Python related code, and you need to give me that answers on it. So whatever we were understanding yesterday, some quick the quick review of it. Yes, we are understanding the print statement. So what is that output you will be having that if you run this program? If you run this statement? Yeah, good. Hello world. Yeah. But here the points what we are trying to understand, a text value inside the course is called a string. Yes, this is the string we will call it. And print is a function. So it's separate a fragment of the code. So which has been inbuilt function. There are the inbuilt functions which is providing by the Python. And when we use a function, yes, so we are using this function is nothing but either, what is the keyword we can say? We are invoking the function or we are calling a function. But here we are calling a function with argument, or we are invoking the function with argument. So that was the first section which we are understanding. Then we were understanding more statements on the print. Yeah, what is the like output of this program? So can you give me that now? What is the output of this statement? Yeah, that is about good. Yes, that is invalid because the functions, whenever you are invoking that, the functions must be invoked with exact name. But here, actually the print, but I has been missed. So it is going to throw error, name print is not defined. So what is the output here? I am writing the Python program. This is a normal print statement. But as we are understanding that, I would like to print like this. Is it okay? Is it going to work this? Is it a valid statement or an invalid statement? It is invalid. Why it is invalid? Yes, so here the Python interpreter is going to understand this string has been started here and it has been ended here. Only it is going to consider I, but remaining, that is the last, the semicolon, the last single code, whatever we have defined, that is invalid. So yes, that is unterminated string literal. So this is the syntax error. So either you can use the double quotation to get that output. Yes, in that output, if you need that single quote, then you need to use the the writing the string in the double quotes, or what we need to use it, we need to use the escape character. Yes, within that single quotes itself, you can write it, but we need to use it. The special characters, if we need it, then we need to use the escalate or escape characters, which we can say that. And yes, we are understanding. Yeah, so this is the, I mean, is it going to work with this one or not? Type that quickly. No, no, invalid, no. Comma between needed. Okay, that is error. Yes. So the point is, in the single statement, you cannot define the multiple. In the single line, you cannot define the multiple statements. So one line, one statement. That is the invalid. I mean, this is invalid syntax. So if you need it, yes, you need to go for that. Either defining that there is a print statement in the next line, or if you need that, so this is a string in a single statement, then you can use the string concatenation with a comma. Yeah, that's why we're trying to understand it. And the next, like, so what we are understanding is, yes, empty lines or new lines. Yeah, if you need that empty line, just use the print statement. That is going to have it. Yes, I'm writing the Python program, then empty line, then and having the fun. But if we need that, the new line, so what is like a special character which we can use it? /n inside strings is translated into a new line. Yeah, now I'm writing the Python program, and then in the new line, it is going to have the and having the fun, right? Yeah, so that was about the quickly understanding Python, print the function, and as well as strings, how do we define it, and some escape characters, and as well as /n/t, that is special characters we are understanding. And next we started about the variables defining. So let me quickly know about it or recollect about that. Yes, what is the purpose of the variable? So variable name helps easily reference them later in our code. Yes, once if you define the variable with a value, that variable you can reference in the later of the code. Yeah, so here, so the keywords what we are understanding is a greeting is the variable which has been assigned the value that is, hello, how are you? But what is the type of this content is, this is the string format, right? As a single quotation which is having string, it has been assigned to this greeting. And yes, so what is the print command here? What is that output we will be having? Yes, that is hello, how are you? But if I use it single quotation between this greeting, I mean, it has been encoded the greeting with a single quotation, then what is the value you are going to have it? Yeah, so understand the difference. So here we are using the variable as a reference to get the value of this variable. So this is the variable invocation or variable referencing. But if I include this greeting within the single quotation or double quotation, then it is going to, the Python interpreter is going to consider this as a string. Yeah, so this is a variable declaration we are talking that, and we can refer that variable value, yes, by using that variable name. So now what is that output here you will be having that? After executing these 4 statements, finally greeting, what is the value? Is it hello, how are you, or is it hi everyone? But I see there's some responses. Hello, how are you? No. We don't get that hello, how are you? So okay, so here the print, I mean, I'm not talking about this print, I'm talking about this fourth line after executing. Then what is the output of this greeting variable? So here we have declared, and here we have reassigned the value of the variable. So finally the greeting, what is the value it is contains in the memory? Hi everyone, after executing this line. So this concept, what we can say, we are overriding and we are reassigning the value of the variable. Those are all the keywords we are trying to understand it. And yes, if I execute this statement, what is that like a value? So here, what is that output we are going to have it? Yes. So that is the error, because the new underscore greeting is the variable is not yet defined, but a defined variable you are trying to refer that. So in the memory, in the Python interpreter, it doesn't know that about this variable, right? So you're just directly calling about it, but it is not yet defined. Without defining, if you call it, it is going to throw error. Yeah, name new greeting variable, that variable is not defined. Yeah, so that is about some points which you are understanding. So are you good with this? So type that yes in the chat window, the quickly to move to this next points. Okay, I see there's good response from everyone. Thank you. So let's move into that. So variable names, I mean, we are talking about it as the variable defining and assigning the value or reassigning the value to the variable. But whenever we are defining the variable names, we need to follow some rules. So if you're defining the variable names, like a greeting or whatever we're talking that, these variable names, it should be defined. I mean, we need to follow that some rules. What are those rules? Names cannot start with a number. Yeah, the name, I mean, the variable name, it should not start with a number. That is main important point. And there can be no spaces in the name. Suppose a new greeting I have defined, a new space greeting, we should not define that variable name. New. So if you need that any space, then you can use it underscore. So you can use it underscore, new, underscore, under message, something like that, which you can use it. But space is not allowed. And cannot use it any of these symbols. Yes, whenever you are defining that the variable, you cannot use it these special variables. Like single quotation, double quotation, comma, less than, greater than. So finally, what is the meaning of that variable defining is nothing but it allows that alphabets, it allows that underscore, and it allows that numbers. So either you can use it alphabets, A to Z, small or caps letters, underscore, from the special only underscore is allowed, special variables, special symbols. And finally, numbers, that is 0 to 9, you can use it that. And recommended practice is, so whenever you are defining the variables, lowercase is recommended. So define the variable names in lowercase. And avoid using words that have the special meaning in the Python like this, list or from. If you have those any keywords, that keywords related variable names, don't define it. Suppose str is the data type, you should not use it as a variable name. Suppose a print, we are using that as a function. So you cannot use it, the print, to define the variable name. Yeah, existing keywords, Python keywords, you should not use it for the variable names. Yeah, some examples, if you just observe that, is it a correct variable name or not? Yeah, it is having that underscore and alphabets. Yes, this variable, yes, that is a valid. So this is also valid. And it is having that alphabets with numbers. Yes, this is also valid. And one more point, observe that suppose whenever you are defining the variable with multiple words, like here, if you see that correct is one word, name is another word. So you are going to use that in the variable two words. So whenever you are using the two words in a variable name, so correct the first word, and whenever the second word starting that, second word first letter use the caps letters. So that represents easily to understand it. Okay, correct is the word and the name is that another word. But you are going to use it, these two words in a single variable name or single function name. Either function names whenever you are defining or variable names you are defining that. We can say this is the camel based caps letters. We call it that. That is a two words, but one word to that another word. Suppose n also, if I define that in the small letters, then reading that or whenever you are referring that the variables, it is very difficult. So easily to understand it, one word to another word in the single variable. If you have that multiple words, then after the word, then second word start with the first letter start with the caps letter. So there are like standards whenever you are implementing the code. So we need to follow that, the variable names or function names. So if you're defining, so follow the standards. Yeah, so there is a camel name representation. So first word, the the lowercase letters, and the second word or third word, whenever it is starting that word first letter defined in the caps letter. Yeah, these three are the valid. Underscore, yes, underscore is acceptable. And alphabets are acceptable. And numeric, that is the numbers are the valid in the variable name. But these special characters are not allowed. Other than these three, you should not use it that. Suppose, is it a valid one or invalid one? This variable. So 9-1 and incorrect. Is it a valid one or invalid one? This is invalid. Why it is invalid? Yes, the variable names should not start with digits or numbers. Yeah, the variable name should start with that either underscore or alphabet, but variable name should not start with a number. Number will be allowed only after the first letter. Yeah, so there are some rules whenever you are defining the variable names. Are you clear about these points? So now we go back to the PyCharm, yes, the Jupyter, and let's start working on it. Name correct is fine. Yeah, name correct is fine, but N use it as a small letter and C should be caps letter. That is recommended. Yeah, let me start the Jupyter. So where is the Jupyter? Yes, the Jupyter launching. Yeah, yesterday we were creating that some directory as my Python samples. And these are all some examples which are trying to understand it. Now let's move into that. So the variables.py. Yes, it is just started now, actually. I don't need this. Okay, let's continue. So what I do that is I go for that creating. Already we have defined. So let me use this notebook. Already we are using these variable names defining and assigning. Yeah. I have shared all these resources in the video in the resources section, which you can find it there. Okay, so the way understanding that's valid variable names and invalid variable names. Yes, always the variable name should start with that. Yes, either underscore or alphabet, that is 1 point, and a variable name should contain only the alphabets or underscore or digits. But one word to another word. So whenever you are defining that, recommended to use it the caps letter. The second word, first letter, define that with the caps letter. That is recommended. Yeah, if you try to understand it. So this is character name equal to, yes, we can define that some value high. But is it valid or not? Yes, that is accepted. We don't see any errors. But if I use it something 91 and a name equal to high, so it is not accepted. So this is invalid decimal letter because it has been started with 91. So it is not going to accept that the variables which have been started with the digits. Variable has to start with that either underscore or you can use it. Let me just show that quickly. You can use it with the letters. Then it is not throwing any error. And you should not use it. Something if I use it ampersand and if I try to run it, yes, it is not accepting that. And in the variable names, so you should not have the spaces. So space, whenever you use it, that is a different underscore current now. I mean, yeah, so this variable, correct variable is different and name variable is different, right? So if you try to run it, it is not able to recognize it. Yes, invalid syntax, it is saying that. But if you'd like to specify that in the function names or variable names, the spaces. So the recommended approach is even in our Windows also, whenever you are creating any folders, especially these Python exercises, if you'd like to work with that, and so you are going to create a directories, right? So those directory names, whenever you are defining that, don't use the space, use that underscore, that is recommended. Yeah, there are some rules which we should know it before the moving into that more data types and as well as we have the different data types. We'll come back to that. But before that, let me talk it this one more concept that is a comments. So let me go back to that and let me open this one more new notebook. I'm going to use the new notebook. Or you can continue in this notebook also, no issues. Yes. So before talking about that, like more into the variables and data types, let me conclude one more, the small concept that is comments. So in this, we are going to look into that. How do we define the comments in Python? Okay, how do we define the comments in the Python? Suppose if I'm going to write it some print statement, something, hello. So now, whenever we define the statement, suppose like this, here I have defined that the print or any business logic whenever I'm implementing, if I'm the best developer, what is the recommended approaches is explain that statement in the program itself. Suppose if I write it, so this is, here is this one we say that midline comment. So now what is the advantage of this adding the comments like this is, so the statement, whatever you have implemented, yes, maybe now when you are implementing today, okay, you can understand this statement, but after 10 days, if you open this Python program, then by referring these instructions and what it has been implemented, we need to break about our head, right? We need to work like as a Python interpreter. But if you would have added about that, the comment lines, then by just referring the comment line, so what exactly the purpose of the statement, what is the need of this statement which you have implemented, if you have defined that, then it is very easy for the future references. So always, as a best programmer, recommended is write the comments. But this one we can say that after the statement I have defined. So after the hash, what are the content I am defining? What are the content I have written? So that will be ignored by the interpreter. Yes, what is the meaning of the comment is comment lines are not going to executing, or those lines which will be ignored, ignored by the interpreter. Suppose if I start the line itself as a comment, so this is here is, and this is top level, we say that, or all line comment. In the programming, we say that this is all line comment. Now, if I try to execute this Python, it is going to skipping that. It is this line which will be ignored. Why it is ignoring? So Python, whenever you see this, like the line which starts with the hash, or in the mid statement which starts with the hash, then it is going to understand, okay, so this is the, this statement has to be ignored, or this line has to be ignored. Yeah, that is a meaning to that, the Python interpreter. So if you are going to define the documentation, so use that, the comment lines, that is more recommended. So let me give that one example. So I'm going to define that. Okay, so first let me write the statement. Suppose I have the variable 1, something which I have defined value, and variable 2, something like 45. So now these variables are the string variables, or the digital, is it a numeric variables or integers? Which type of variables these are? These variables are the string, or these variables are the numeric? Or you can say that integer. Which one is that? Yeah, I see this responses saying about it. String, int, string variables, numeric, integer, integers. No, these are all not integers. These are all the strings. As we're understanding that, so the strings are going to encoding with the single quotation or double quotation. Even here we have defined the numbers, but these numbers are encoded within the single quotation. Now, what is the data type? This one is string data type. So if I write that comment here, so that's advantage. In the future, at any time, if we are referring that, then we can understand that. Yes, what is that? Like a note that the variables are strings, not numbers. So by adding the comment line in the future, as if you suddenly, suddenly what do we see that, okay, 23, 45, these are all like, yes, so they're all like numbers. normal representation. But these have been encoded within that double quotation, zero like as a strings. So interpreter is going to consider, so where one is the string data type and where two is the string data type. But if I remove this one, now where one is the string data type and where two is the integer data type. Are you clear about this? Yeah, writing the comment, that's going to helpful that. Suppose maybe I have implemented the file and you are one of the developer, and whenever I share this notebook to you, then you are referring the code, then you don't need to check it about these these variables and everything. Whenever you read this comment, you can easily understand, okay, these variables are strings, not variables. So before writing the business logic, recommended is write the comment, what you are going to, what is the logic you are going to define it, write in the comment, and then go ahead implementing about your business logic. That is the best programmer will do that. So always the programmer, first he writes the comment and what are the next statements he is going to implement it. So he will describe all that, all the business logic, all that business logic in the comment line, then he starts implementing the statements. So advantage of that's the comments. And not only this, one more, the example of the comment, if you go to that, suppose I have the two print statements, which I had defined something here, the hello, and one more print statement, some hidden message. Suppose hello message, I need to always the print, but hidden message, some cases we need to comment it, and some cases we don't need that. We need it. Whenever we need it, yes, we will remove the comment and we'll re-execute it. I'll get it. And whenever we don't need this line of the statement, we simply comment it and we execute the script. So instead of removing this line whenever you don't need that, instead of removing this entire line, what you can do, you can add the comment, and whenever it is required to remove the comment, and whenever you don't want this line to execute it, then add the comment. Yeah, there are the different scenarios, the way we use it about that comment sections. Yeah, after writing the statement, you can describe about that, the comment, or before starting the script, yes, in the top level, you can define that the comments, or before writing the business logic or any function. So you can write it that the comment, and some statements, like some cases they're required to execute it, some cases which are not required to execute it. If you have this kind of that, yes, define the statement in the comment line, and whenever it is required, remove this comment, and whenever you don't need this line to execute it, then add that line to the comment. Is it clear about this comments understanding? Okay, so I'm going to save this notebook that is just for comments. I used it, and I'm going to name as this one as comments. I'll share these notebooks later. So let me shut down the running scripts. Okay, so let's go for that. The one more activity that is about data types. Here I'm going to talk about that data types. First, let me give that the overall, what are like important data types we have in the Python. I'll give the overview of it. Then we'll come back to this to understand one by one. So what are like different data types are available in the Python? Yeah, so data types, if you try to understand it, yes, integers, the name we can say that's integers, and type, yes, in the Python point of view. So how do we use that? Integer is int, and the description of this, if you observe that whole numbers, such as like, yes, these are all like numbers, as we can say simple, that could be 300, 200, or 100, or whatever that. So if you see this number, that number, what do we call, or what is the data type we'll call it in the Python is integer data type, but we refer that's type as int. Whenever we are calling integer, but whenever we are using in the Python, we use that int is a keyword. Next data type, the floating point. In the numbers itself, we have the total, we can say the two types of the numbers. So these are all like, as we are understanding, integers, but second type of these numbers which are available, floating numbers, floating points. Or we say that in other programming language, decimals. Yeah, most of the float, we say that. Yeah, type is the float. So they're all going to have that decimal point. Yeah, these are all the numbers, but which are having the decimal point. Yes, obviously we have the two types, right? Without decimal and with a decimal, simple. Without decimal, we say that integers, and with a decimal, if you have that any number, that's we say that float. Okay, so in the numbers, always remember that two different types of the data types are available in the Python. Next, we are understanding the strings. Yes, and the print we are using, or in that like variables we are using the strings. But what is like a type? How do we represent in the Python is str, we'll call it. Str is the keyword. These keywords, you should not use it as a variable names. There are the predefined keywords for the data types, int, float, str. But what is the str or what is the string? There are like ordered sequence of the characters. Suppose if I enclose with this string within the single quotation or double quotation, there are the sequence of the characters, right? H, E, L, L, O. There are like sequence of the characters, or RNS. Even this is the number, but number which has been enclosed with the single quotation or double quotation, that's we say the string data type. Yeah, so these are all like a string, as what we can say that sequence of the characters. That a string contains either alphabets or numbers. Even the special characters also within the string. But variable names, you should follow the rules. But within the string, you can use it about your special characters. Yesterday, within the string, you are using that the single quotation. But escape character, we are using that as a special characters to use it. Okay, next another data type which is available, Boolean. In most of the, if you had already the programming, if you know it, yes, Booleans, we know it. The data type, we call it in the Python as a bool. But what about the Booleans? That's a true or false indication. And whenever you are defining the Booleans, make sure that, suppose if I'm going to define that, like a Boolean variable, is it valid IP? That is a variable name. If I'm going to send the true or false, so just observe that here, true, you should not use that like small letters. So you should use it T caps and TRUE. Only it is allowing that exact format. True, false. False, if you're going to define it, F caps and then false. But if you define that all small letters, it is going to throw error. Yeah, so this is another data type, the Boolean. We'll come back. So using how to use that, all this stuff in the programming, that is an extra activities. But overview, like if you have that, as interviews, if you're preparing that, if you'd like to easily to remember that what are the different data types are available, I'm just giving that all that data types in the single point, the way you can easily remember that. Next, which we have the is the lists. or in maybe if it have just like idea about that C programming or some other program, we say that array. So which is the sequence of objects. List, the name itself is in that list of elements. So here the type list, and the list is like ordered sequence of objects. But how do we define that the list is? It should be defined in the square brackets. List of all the elements, how do we define it? See, as simple as it is, you can understand this is the first argument, this second argument, this is the third argument. This is sequence of arguments. In the function, we are talking that the passing arguments, but in the list, what do we say that this is the first argument or element, or we can say object. Yeah, this is the first object, this is the second object, third object. Here you see that this is the integer, this is the string, and this is the float. Yes, you can store it, any type of the variable. So list is a sequence of the objects, which how do you define the list is within the square brackets. You can define that the elements are set of objects. But how do you differentiate it objects is with the comma separation. Yeah, we have this more activities, so don't worry, but this is just the high level understanding. And these are all like sequence, as we're talking that this is the first one, this is the second one, this is the third one. It is going to use it indexing. What is that indexing, and how it starts the indexing? We'll talk it later. But yes, first think about it. Yes, first, second, third, like that you can define as a number of elements. Suppose I have the 10 IP addresses. All the 10 IP addresses, I can keep that as a list. IP1, IP2, IP3, IP4. Okay, that is about list. But you have this another, the most frequently which will use it, dictionaries. So the type is DICT, dict, and these are all like key value based. These are all like not on the base of the ordered, and these are all like on the base of the key value. Suppose whenever we are referring the dictionary is having that like the millions of the words, right? But all the words, how you are going to identify the particular word? We go to that key based. Yeah, key, and that key is having that the value. Yeah, the word is the key in the dictionary wise. So that word, whenever you are going to look in that, what is exactly meaning of it? Yes, the meaning is the value of that word. The same thing. So dictionary is one data type which is available in the Python. You can store the values in the format of the key and the value. Suppose you are defining that employee object, employee serial number or employee roll number. Yes, roll number is the key. And what is the roll number? Is it 1 or 2 or 1000 or 2000? That is the value, key and value. Key is a employee roll number and the value is roll number. Next, another name of the employee, comma, then department of that employee. Department is the key. Which department? Is it IT or is it HR? Is it admin? So like this, you can keep that with about our key and value. We can store the objects, and whenever we need it, we can retrieve roll number. Yeah, dictionary. How do we retrieve the values from this list or from this dictionary? That's will come back later. But how you are going to store? If I'm having that only objects, I can use the list as a sequence to store it. But I have that the key value representation. Suppose, okay, AWS, some people, you didn't finish it. Okay, so leave it okay. So we have like region names, region name, and the region is have the key. That is a code which we can say. Yes, if you have that, that is key-based values to store it. Dictionary, you can use it. But how do we represent the dictionary in the Python is, this is important. Double curly braces. So square brackets that represents for the list, and dictionary like a curly braces that is going to help in that. Next one which we have this is a tuples. One more data type. Yes, in interviews they will ask you that. What is the difference between the list? When do you use a list? When do you use a dictionary? When do you use a tuple? When do you use it set? Especially these list of all elements which are storing either sequence based, either key value based. But what is a tuple if you try to understand it? Yeah, data type is a TUP. This is immutable. The main difference between the list and a tuple is list is mutable. That means you can change the values of these elements at any time. Suppose initially, whenever I am declaring that first element is a 10, but later I can change it, a 10 to 100 or 10 to that's 20. We can change the value of these elements at any time. This is a mutable. Mutable is changeable. But tuple is, this is also ordered, but this is immutable. That means once if you define the tuple, you cannot change the value of the element, or you cannot update it. But you can delete it, but we will talk it that. What are the operations you can do on the list and what are the operations you can do that on the tuples? That is, we'll come back later, but high level, have the picture of it. Next, we are going to use it, all this stuff. Yeah, difference between the list and tuple. Yes, list is mutable, ordered based objects which we can store it, but tuple is immutable. This is also ordered, but immutable sequence of the objects. And next, which we have this is a set. Set is also like as a list, but this is unordered. Unordered, and one more feature what we have this is unique objects. Unique. Suppose here I have stored that one element A, and I cannot store that one more element as a value. But in the list, I can store it. 10, 10, 10, I can store it. Because it is going to use it index based. First, second, third, like that, it is going to use the ordered based index. But set is not going to use it index. And it supports only unique. So unique objects values, you can store it. Yeah, these are some important data types. As a multiple objects to store it, lists, dictionaries, tuples, sets are available. But if you have like integers or the floating points or the strings, boolean, they're all like straightforward. The single object which you can assign to the variable. But here to the variable, multiple or a list of all the elements in the sequence order or key value based or immutable if you need it, immutable based, the list. That is tuple which you can use it. Or you would like to keep that objects only unique objects and unordered. Then you can use the set. But set, how do we define it? Within the curly braces. But here within the curly braces, key colon value. This is the dictionary. But this is about the first object, comma, second object, comma, third object, you can store like this. And a tuple, how do we use it? With the parentheses. Yes, whenever you are, so first of all, whether you are going to implement the program or not, it doesn't matter. First, you should have the capability of, if anyone has already implemented the Python program or you are referencing that other program's code, whether you are able to understand it or not, that is important. Suppose whenever you open that some program and which is having that something like the variable equals to that with a square bracket, some values have been defined. Then what you need to understand is, okay, this variable is a list, which is having these are the list of all the elements, and it is going to retrieve that interpreter on the base of the sequence. That's if you are able to bring it whenever you are analyzing the program, you are good. You are good in the troubleshooting of the program. Yeah, if I see this like one variable which is having that with the parentheses, then I need to understand that variable is a tuple, and it doesn't allow that update, and it is a sequence of the order of elements, and which is immutable. That's if you're able to bring it whenever you see that line of the statement in the program, you are good. Are you getting my points? Is it clear about that list of all the data types? Can you ping this in the chat window quickly? What are the different list of all the data types are available in the Python? Everyone quickly in the chat window. Use the comma separation and give me that. No, I don't want the values. I need the data types. Okay, I see there's 8 types. Okay, so good. But what are those 8 types? If anyone asks you that, what are the different data types are available in the Python? Don't think too much on that interview facing. Yes, if you know these things, yes, you can, or you can get ready to face the interview. They ask you that on these data types itself, what is the difference? When do you use it, the tuple? When do you use it? In which context do you use it, the dictionary? Don't think too much on that, but at least the basics, do you have it or not? That is important. If you need that particular functionality related code, you can search it in the Google and you can get the code. But once you got the code, whether you are able to understand that code or not, that is important. That code already defined with like maybe list variables or tuple or set. So with the parenthesis, if it is defined, then yes, you need to think it tuples. So if it is defined the square brackets, yes, you need to understand that is as a list variable, interpreter, how it is going to use it internally. That's you are able to imagine that you are that troubleshooting on the programming. I'm not talking about the implementation of the programming. So if you are able to understand that existing statements, and if you are able to think like as the interpreter, whenever you run the program, how the interpreter is going to converting that statement, then you are going to become as a troubleshooter of that program. Okay, I see those responses like yes, int, float, string, boolean, list, dictionary, tuple, set. Yeah, what is the difference between the set and tuple? What is the difference between that tuple and list? And if you like to define the list, how do you define it? Dictionary, okay, easily we can remember that. That is a key value within the curly braces. These are all very basic things. If you're going to become that, to write it 1,000 lines of that, the Python script, first of all, first line, how do you write it? You should know it, right? Type of parenthesis we used. What is the type of parenthesis which we used? Okay, fine, maybe. Yeah, finally, so remember that square brackets, parenthesis, curly braces which contain the key value representation. So they're all like a list or I mean multiple elements you are storing that. Normally if I take the string we are saying the sequence of the characters, But sequence of the objects, if you like to store it, then you need to use it either list or set or tuple. Or key value based, then dictionary. Okay, anyway, that is we have that exercise on it, but the inject into the mind. These are all very, very important. And if you know these data types and the differences, almost you see that in the Python interviews, like minimum 3 or 4 questions on this. Yeah, so let me go for this. Yes, first starting with the string, and okay, let me show that strings, how do we define? Already we are talking that, suppose greeting, if we define that. Without knowing that, already we have defined these variables. Hello, how are you? Which data type is this? Now greeting is which data type? That is string data type. And here in the Python, if you observe that, I didn't mention anywhere about that, the string explicitly. Suppose if you go to that C program or C++ or Java, you need to use it string greeting equal to hello, how are you? So you need to specify that the before the variable type also. This is applicable in C++ program or Java program. So on the base of like a data type, if you would have defined this in the variable, then it is going to allocate the memory. That is a Java program which is going to use it. But I mean, this approach, which we can say that static definition of the variables. Static approach. That means this greeting variable, you can use it only for the string. You cannot use it for other data types during runtime. But Python, the beauty, if you observe that the Python is, you don't need to specify that explicit data type. Suppose now this greeting, I have assigned this, the string. Now this greeting is going to become that during execution, automatically the string data type. Or if I assign that this one as something 10, then during runtime, this greeting is going to become that dynamically as an integer. That is the beauty of the Python, dynamically allocating that the memory on the base of the value which I have assigned. Suppose if I define this one as a list, some elements, then this greeting is going to become that this as a list during runtime. Yes, you can change it at any time. That is the beauty of this Python. We don't have the static based data type defining, and this is the dynamic approach. On the basis of the value which you are assigning during runtime, it is going to allocating that cell to store the value of the variable. Are you getting all these words? Suppose if I define that age equal to 35, yes, this is what is like now age? Which data type is that? Can you give me that? Which data type is that? Age? Okay, yeah, sorry, I didn't. Yeah, good. Integer. Suppose if I define that something speed 1 equal to 4 comma 4.5. What is the data type that is? Now speed 2, what is the data type? No, these are not integer. So dot decimal, if you are representing even that 0 value, if you assign it also, that is a float. Suppose this is also valid. Suppose if I say that 4 point, is it integer? Is it a float? Float. Decimal, if you see that, that is the float data type. What about the speed 4? Yes, that is about integer data type. Yeah, so on the base of the values which are assigning that, so we have those like data types. Automatically, the Python interpreter is going to identify that, and it is going to assign the memory background. Why is the data types important? So whenever you are, suppose here, I have defined the sequence of the characters is nothing but background in the memory or the RAM, it is going to store in the format of the 0-1 representation. 0-1, that is actual storage representation. As a front end, yes, it is the sequence of the characters which we can understand, but operating system and kernel on the disk wise, if we just talk it, in the disk, how it is going to store that? The 0-1, it doesn't store it in the English alphabets. So H has to be converted into the 0-1. E has to be converted into the 0-1. So on the basis of the characters which are defined in the string, background, it is going to allocate that, the storage for it. If it is a string, yes, string on the basis of the string, the sequence of the characters which are defined in the string, it is going to allocate the memory backend. And if it is the integer, yes, so the allocation of the RAM size is different. Float point of view, list point of view, yes, what is the data type you are defining? These are all like the why these data types are important is backend in the disk point of view, the RAM point of view to store the value of these variables. Is it clear about this? Are you understanding all these points? Imagine you need to think like as a Python interpreter, then you can understand all these points. So whenever I'm writing any code here, you need to just imagine Python interpreter, how it is going to understanding that. If you have that mindset, then you can get into the programming. And tomorrow, if you see this, yes, more number of lines of the programming also, then you can easily understand that program and easily you can analyze that as an interpreter. Yeah, whenever you see this as greeting, so it is like a string data type. Interpreter is going to use it as a string data type. But that way, if you think it, then it is easy. Okay, there is a variable name which has been assigned. The 35 is the value. Okay, so it is integer. Backend interpreter is going to store that. It is going to create some memory allocation for this age variable, and in that, the memory it is going to store this value. Whenever we just call that the print age, so it is going to try to get that, okay, this age is already stored in the memory. And whenever I just call this variable name and it is going into that, the memory and the value which has been stored, it is taking and it is retrieving and it is returned back to the, as a print, we know that it is going to return that output to the console. This is the way think it, then the program is very easy. That's why like these are like basic pillars. So I mean, I don't need to talk it this much to my, this much level. But if you have these pillars, then whenever you are learning about it, all the remaining concepts, the line of the statements, how the interpreter is going to execute internally, if you're able to analyze it, it is very easy. But if you would like to become like that, then you should know each line what it is doing by the Python interpreter. Okay, next another type which we are trying to understand. Okay, let me define that. Is it valid? IP, something, and just defining that one variable. Okay, that is true or false. As booleans, we are talking that. So you should use it tick caps and true. That is accepted. But if I define that, small letters. Yes, it is throwing the error. Name true is not defined because this is not the keyword of the Python. Python doesn't know about this true, but Python knows about that only this keyword. Like that true or false whenever you are defining that, make sure. So this exact, the Boolean type you are going to use it. Yes. If I define that, this is also false, but Python doesn't know about that keyword. That's what he's saying that I don't understand this name false. I didn't find it. It is not a defined. It is not a defined is nothing but either we didn't define in this shell, in this program level, or Python inbuilt the keywords. It doesn't know about that. That is the meaning of it. Are you clear these points? Let me, for example point of view, I'm going to use it these two statements. Okay, so good. And one more point what you need to understand is, so regarding to these Boolean data types, in the numerical representation, 1 equal to true numerical. True is nothing but internally, the what is the code it is going to use it. For the true, that is 1, and 0 is equal to false. Yeah, the Boolean representation, true or false, we say that. But numeric representation of the Boolean, if you would like to define it, 1 is for the true, 0 is for the false. Yeah, 0 is nothing but, I mean, that is, we can understand easily. That is nothing, right? That is a false indication. And a true, in the numeric representation, how do we represent is, that is 1. Yeah, this also keep this. One more point. 1 equal to true, 0 equal to false. Yeah, that's about the some like high level getting into that, the points. Now we go for this more into that integers. So already we are defining that here integer, but it is not enough. But integer, we can perform some arithmetic operators. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. We have the standard divisions. We have this numeric divisions. We have that reminders. Yes, let's look into that. The next point, arithmetic operators with the integers. Yes, that means we are going to more working this on the integer data type. Are you ready to go into this next? Have you understand these points? Yesterday's the notebooks I have attached. So if you refer that in your batch, which batch you belong to that. So like the same way today also I will attach all these notebooks. Suppose here the Python running notebooks and variables. What's happened? Failure to process video. Anyway, video, I will check it about it. Anyone try to access this video? Yesterday's one? Okay, maybe I'll check it this fail to process video it is showing. Yeah, so here I have attached all the notebooks yesterday, whatever we were understanding. So I have attached, you can download it and keep that in your user home directory. That means go to that C drive, users, and about your username. By default, it is loading that all the playbooks. Root directory is nothing but about your user home directory. In your user home directory, that means in the C drive users, about your username. In that, create one directory. Whatever the directory you prefer it, like my Python exercises, Python exercises. Create one directory, and you can download these the notebooks, and you can keep it in this folder. Then if you open this, the Jupyter, you can access all those notebooks. Are you clear about that? How do you get it, or how do we use this? But don't try to directly import it and don't try to directly use it. But okay, for you, you are able to access the video. Maybe I need to check it. Okay, fine. I'll check it once again. I'll re-upload it. Maybe this is for that B51. What about the B50? Yeah, the B50 it is working, but only B51 it is not working. Okay, so you have got that. How do we reuse these the notebooks? That is my point. Download this, and where you can keep that. So go to about your C drive. Let me show that drive also. So go to about your PC, and then in the C drive, and in the C drive, the users and about your name, the system name, whatever you have. So go to this name. And here you see that, yes, these are all loading that. By default, these are all loading in our Jupyter. So if you observe that's in the Jupyter home is nothing but this is about our user home directory. So here my Python samples, what are the directory I have created? Yes, so that is available. So where is that? Yes, this is my Python samples, and what are all the notebooks I'm creating and I'm saving that, everything that is getting stored here. Or if you have the notebooks, you can download it and you can keep that in your user home directory in one of the directory, and you can open that about your Jupyter notebook, and you can access that all these playbooks. I mean all these notebooks. Okay, have got these points. How do we reuse these notebooks? Next, which we need to discuss that integers, but already 10:30 it is. Okay, we'll talk it on the Monday in the next class about these like numeric string and all that, the more deeply into that. But I need that at least 20-25 minutes only to complete that integers. Yeah, so it takes some time anyway. So we'll wind up that until this, and we look into that about that integers in the next class. So today we got that is what are the different data types are available. So you can have this screenshot, and you can just keep it that as a single point of the reference. So that will be helpful as whenever you are preparing for that interviews or some points. Yes, this is going to helpful having that all the differences. Mainly they ask you that the difference. What is the difference between the list and tuple, or what is the difference between the list and set, or when do you go for that using the dictionary? Remaining, okay, strings, integer, they're all the straightforward, but a list, tuple, how it is going to use it internally, sets, how it is going to use it internally, list, how it is going to use it internally, dictionaries, what is the format, and you should remember that the square brackets understanding, and as well as Yeah, so what about this square brackets? What about this parenthesis? What about this curly braces? These are all also very important. So why these are all important is, as just we understand that we don't use it external data type, right? Externally specifying the data type. So whenever we are defining the variables, we are not defining that any explicitly the data type. So on the base of the value which you are assigning that, automatically interpreter is going to understand, is it a string or is it like a integer or is it a float or is it a list or is it a dictionary? But how the interpreter is going to know that is it a list or dictionaries? On the base of the definition of the variable. That is square brackets if we use it and list of all the orders, and it is going to use it as a list. And if it is going to use, if you define the parenthesis with the list of all the elements, it is going to consider as a tuple. And if we use the square brackets and if we define the list of all the elements, then it is going to consider as a set. So that's why we need to remember that square brackets, parenthesis, and curly braces. Curly braces with the key and value representation, that is dictionary. Yeah, fine. The Monday onwards, we start about that more into about all these data types because they're all very, 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 very important. As automation engineer, yes, if you like to store the IP addresses or if you like to store the server details, yes, how we are going to store it is data types we use it. And reading that values from the data types, writing or updating or deleting the elements from the data types. So all those internal functions also, which we should have the more understanding. Yeah, so that's all from my side. So today understanding variable names standards, and then which are understanding comments, importance of the comments. Then we are understanding that data types and how the interpreter is going to understand that on the basis of the values which are assigning to the variables. Yeah, these points take it today. And this weekend, try to complete all these the Python exercises if you have those any pending, and try to set up the Python and have the environment and try to work it on all these exercises. Yeah, any queries, questions, please let me know. Everyone, are you following this? How does anyone non-computers, how you are understanding this program? Yeah, I see that's good. Okay. Okay, so no response, everyone was silent. Fine, good. So any queries, questions before going to wind up today? So please let me know. Clear? No, got it, sir. Nothing for today. Okay, thank you. Thank you all. So try to practice all these exercises, and today evening you will be having that assignment. Already maybe you got it into that WhatsApp. Yeah, so next onwards, we'll be having that assignment only on Monday and Friday. So there is no Wednesday, there are no more assignments because we understand that is stressing day by day. That is that's not good. So you will be having that on the Monday. Monday you are doing is nothing but yes, you have the time from time Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Then next assignment you will be having on the regular assignments next on Friday evening. So Friday, between the Monday and the Friday, you have the time. So to practice regular classes, activities, and as well as if it is required to review something, yes, you have the time, and try to practice, try to prepare for Friday as well as. So next week onwards, Wednesday, there is no more assignment. We don't want to stress you. Is it okay? the Monday and the Friday attending that the assignments? Give me that about your inputs. Or do you want on Wednesday also? Yeah, Monday and Friday is good. Yes, it is good for Monday and Friday. Okay, so most of that which we see that Monday and Friday, yeah. Because daily you are learning almost like 2.5 hours, and then assignment taking that the alternative days yesterday challenge, we can understand it. That's why. So we give the more priority to the learning. The parallelly we go for the assignments also as a recollecting. Yes, assignments. So Monday, if you have that, try to attend that on the Monday itself. Don't postpone to the next the exam. So complete it, but complete the Monday itself. Then suppose if you take it Monday and Friday, I will complete it these two exams in the next Friday. Then you are just attending that the exams, but you are not heartfully going to take that assignment. Just blindly. Okay, sir mentioned that we need to complete the assignments, otherwise we don't get that the certification. So no, don't be in that mood. So that like whenever you are taking the assignment, take it heartfully and prepare it before coming to that, and know that each the point and try to recollect it and synchronize with about your learning that assignment concept or the quiz or whatever you say. So try to recollect the concepts. And Monday exam, try to complete, try to take it on the Monday itself. And Friday, attempt on only on the Friday, but don't postpone it to the next day. These are all my suggestions. Then you will be good understanding on each concept wise and recollecting. Then you will get more strong on the subject. Yeah, thank you all. So that's all from my side. I'm going to log off for today. And portfolio people, you will be getting that about your schedule notification. I'll update you. Yes, remaining batch wise is today evening assignment. Thank you all.